In this video, I'm going to cover the quick menu features of the ATN THOR HD site. To bring up the quick menu, you hit the enter button one time. From here, you'll scroll right to left to make a selection. I'm going to quickly go through what each one of these icons mean and what they do, and then I'll go back through for a more detailed explanation and example. If we scroll to the right, first we have the paintbrush icon. Paintbrush icon nukes your ATN THOR HD site. All thermal sites require a nuke or a non-uniformity compensation. What this does is it removes noise that builds up over time in thermal images, or this noise appears as pixelization. So when you nuke it, it will sharpen the image. Next, we have our rangefinder feature. The rangefinder feature is not a typical laser rangefinder. It is a range estimation tool. It uses the known size of a target to estimate distance. I'll cover that here shortly. Next is the manual distance entry. If we know that a given distance between our gun or ourself and our target, we can enter that information here. Whether it's a known distance or we use a typical laser rangefinder to capture that information. Next is environmental. And this allows us to enter certain environmental factors like wind and wind direction. And this is used when we use the ballistics calculator, as well as the distance entry is used for the ballistics calculator. Next, we have a menu with some sub features under it, or an icon with some sub icons under it. The first one is your standard Wi-Fi on-off icon. By turning the Wi-Fi on, that enables you to connect your ATN THOR site to a smartphone or tablet for remote setup, remote viewing, or remote image retrieval. Next, you have your GPS. If we scroll down, this is the GPS symbol. The GPS symbol needs to be turned on to use the geotagging feature and the GPS time sync. Below that is Bluetooth. The ATN THOR uses Bluetooth to allow you to connect the ATN remote or an ATN laser ballistics rangefinder to your THOR site. And last, next down is the ballistics calculator. When turned on, this will automatically adjust your sight for center impact if you've entered the correct ammunition information as far as bullet type, speed, or muzzle velocity, and ballistic coefficient, and then also entered distance correctly and the environmental factors. This will help calculate all the things you need to adjust to ensure an on-target shot every time. Last is the recoil activated video. This is one of my favorite features of the ATN THOR site. This ensures that you never miss capturing the video of your shot. When enabled, all you do is hit the record button one time, and it actually doesn't begin recording or doesn't capture the recording until you pull the trigger. But you can actually set this to record a preset amount of time before and after the shot. If we continue right, we have contrast. Contrast is exactly what it sounds like. It adjusts the brightness or the distinctness between light and dark on your sight. ATN has an auto feature. I find the auto feature is really the best use. But if you find that it's too bright or that there's too much contrast between your subject and the surroundings, you can go in there and play with that. And then last in the quick menu is the actual system settings menu icon. This pulls up the overall system settings and allows you to make a lot of changes on your site. I'll cover that here shortly as well. Going back now, let's go ahead and look at the nuke button. Nuke again removes pixelization from your THOR site. There are two ways to nuke your ATN THOR HD. The first is to select the paintbrush and hit enter. When I hit enter, you'll see that the site will flash a few times and then go back to black. Normally when you nuke, you'll notice that there's some whiteness in the edges or some coloration on the sides, and that's when you know to nuke. The other option is when you are in your system settings, under thermal you'll see power nuke button on. What that means is when I hit the power button one time, if I just tap the power button, it will nuke the site automatically for me. It's a great time-saving feature. Back to our menu though. The rangefinder. Rangefinder is, like I said, it uses the known height of a target to estimate the distance. If you go to the submenu here by pressing the right button under settings, you can see manual entry. At my range, our targets are 24 by 24, so I've gone ahead and set that to 2 feet. Below that, ATN has provided some general information about deer and deer height and brown bear and wild boar. This is from top of the head to hoof. I do find it more user-friendly to edit this and set it more to the typical top of the shoulder to the brisket. And most of the research I have come across says that an average deer over 160, closer to 180, is going to have a typical back to brisket of 18 inches. So what I would do is set this to 1.5. And I can remove the other numbers here. I no longer need those. Oh, let me go over here. Now I set that for deer to be 1.5. Right? Each one of these is manually configurable. So if I go up here and I exit out, and I go back to my range finding, that top bar I would put at the top of my target, whether it was the back of a deer or a hog or just a wooden target at my range. I'd press enter one time. I would then move the sight until that bar lines up with the bottom of my target and press it again. From there you can see a 2-foot target that I just randomly measured would be 27.3 yards, close estimation. Really a great feature. If you want more accurate range finding, the ATN Laser Ballistics Rangefinder is an excellent choice. It's measured. I think the 1500 is the one I have, and it really does reach out to 1500 yards. Well, the farthest I've been able to get actually is 1308, but that wasn't a limit of the rangefinder. That's a limit of me finding open space. And what that will do is ensure that your ballistics calculations are very accurate. Next, though, in our features, I have the manual distance entry. So let's say I'm at the gun range and I know that it's 100 yards to my target. I can adjust that there. Or if I have a standard laser rangefinder and I range out and it's at 250, I can make those adjustments here as well. So it's just a nice feature to use if you're going to use that ballistics calculator. Do remember, if you're not using the ballistics calculator, then this entry really it's not required for any reason to enter that information. Next is our environmental features again. Again, environmental is used with the ballistics calculation. Here I can set my relative humidity. I can set my wind speed and wind direction. And as I do this, it will, I can set it to, as high as I want. And then obviously wind direction again. Temperature, barometric pressure, and altitude are all obtained from the site itself and are not adjustable. Next, as we move through the menus, I have multiple icons here, or sub-menus. I told you we have the Wi-Fi on-off. I've gone through these already, so I'm not going to turn them on. The recoil activated video, ballistics calculation, the Bluetooth feature, and the GPS feature. Next is the contrast feature. Like I said before, when I select it, I have it on auto. If I scroll up, it will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then back to auto if you scroll all the way down. Because I have the lens cap on for recording purposes, you don't see much of a change there. Continuing on past that, I have my systems wrench or my system settings. This is where I have the option to make some really unique and customize the sight to myself. Under thermal, we have contrast again, thermal sensitivity. The type of focusing is metering mode. That tells you if it's focused in the center or focused kind of full screen. Power button nuke on or off. Color palette changes the way if I want black hot or white hot, or some of the other rainbow features in thermal, I can turn those on there. Photo video, photo mode, I have single or burst, how many bursts in each photo. Time-lapse setting, takes a picture every so many seconds. Microphone on-off if I want to record sound. Format SD card, does exactly what it sounds like. It will erase all the settings and saved images on your SD card. USB access is whether or not I have power connected and what happens if I use an external battery pack. RECOIL activated video allows me to change the settings in that, the record before and record after length. Display brightness, screen brightness, just like it sounds. Display widgets, do I want to see all the things around the sides of my display? Like in my top right, you see that I have a USB battery pack plugged in and an SD card. It would have some other things if I was using those. Language, and then reticle style. And a reticle style just lets me change from the type of crosshair I'm using. Profiles and zeros. ATN has this great feature that allows you to store up to, I believe, 6 different profiles. So you can move your Thor between different weapons, or if you use different grain of bullet, you can go in and set specifics there. I can import and export those to my SD card, so that if I had to do a factory restore on my site, it would save those settings for me, and I could just re-import those. And the last is the standard settings, the things you would want to set up before you start to use your site. So that really covers the quick menu. I will go into more of those features here shortly into other videos and dive into each one of those and how to use them.